Thanks so much.
Mr. Davis. Wow, we look colorful and fun today.
I know. We are. We have some pizzazz.
Pizzazz! I like your blouse.
Thanks. I tried to match you as close as I could. I think I got pretty close.
Well, it's not like I didn't have a color palette that you can choose from any color of the rainbow with this one.
I'm blue, I'm blue.
Well, we are just so delighted to be bringing some love from our home to yours. And we thought that it would be a great opportunity to talk about some of our first loves in life at this Valentine season. And that would be Mom and Dad. Oh my gosh. It's true. You know, there are so many times in my telling of my story where I talk about the trials and tribulations. But truly, my parents have taught me so many wonderful lessons.
Yeah, and who do you think you're more like?
Ooh. I'm probably sometimes, well, not at the moment, but sometimes I think I look like my mother and act like my dad, and then I act like my dad and I look like, wait a minute, I said the same thing. No, it's definitely sometimes my dad in drag, and sometimes it's my mom's mouth and humor.
I was thinking of your mother. You are a lot like her, personality-wise, I think.
Yeah. And who are you more like?
You know, I think I am in demeanor like my mother, calm and quiet. But I think a lot of my personality is my father as well.
Yeah. Same. You know, I think it's you know, it took two to tango, so it's a mix and mingle and a bit of both. And I have to think about, when I look back, I was definitely a mama's boy. I mean, I remember there are stories of me like being latched to her leg and drawing pictures of her as though she were the queen. And she didn't tell me to do that. I just felt like she was the queen, you know. And she was definitely my first love. And my father and I, there are a lot of great pictures when I was little of how much we adored each other. But I think later in life, we ended up having a much closer relationship in the last several years. But they taught me so much. I would say that my mom was the kind of positive influencer with all of her positivity and her sayings that she used to lead the family and lead her business. And my dad was Mr. Hard Work.
Yeah, my father too. He worked a lot. He was always working, and I think I got my work ethic from him, and certainly my frugalness, or close to the dollar, as he would say. But, even I can remember just from when I was a little kid, we got an allowance. I think it was, maybe 50 cents or something. It was in the 70s. But I was under 10, and he got us some bikes, and I remember my sister and I had to give him part of our allowance every week to pay for those bikes. And I thought, when I was a little kid, I was buying half the bike. I'm sure,
probably
at 50 cents a week, if I gave him half of that, I probably, paid $5 or $10, over the course of my indebtedness. But it really taught me, and prepared me to be, an adult and how to pay bills and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. And, well, I think back, my parents, there were 5 children, and our grandmother ended up eventually living with us. And they were always about family. It wasn't about going on trips. And it was a different time because people didn't necessarily have the funds, especially with a large family, to go away and to act as though it was like they were doing so much for themselves. It seemed as though, I remember we were always surrounded with aunts and uncles and grandparents, and it was about family, family, family. So I learned early on that family is the most important. And I remember fighting with my brother or my sisters, and my mother would say, that is your brother and sister, and they're, that is your friend that you'll have for the rest of your life. And she would teach me to remember to stay close and to nourish those relationships.
Yeah, I think that's a great lesson, and I think I got the same from my mom. As I said, my dad worked a lot, so on the weekends, my mom came from a town, an hour away, and we would go up to her parents' house for dinner every Sunday, and just the memories from those, and it would be the whole family or the kids that live close enough.
So I talk about it a lot in story time, and it's often the end messaging. It's something that my parents, in one way or another, both influenced us as kids. And it was to look into your own eyes in the mirror and say, I love you. The love of self and that self-confidence can get you through so much in life. And the words specifically came from my mother. And I know that sometimes that might have been when I was getting teased or bullied by others. But also my father, I remember him saying to his first grandson that it was important that he had a mirror in his room to build self-confidence and to believe in himself.
Well, and I think that's a great lesson even for adults, because I think there's plenty of adults that avoid looking at their own reflection because of some internal dislike for themselves that they have. And I think, we all should really just take a look at ourselves and tell us, you are awesome, you're great, I love you. I think that's a great lesson.
I think so too. And I think it's not only the internalized, ongoing conversation, but it's stuff that we hear or that we perceive is being said about us from others. And it may not be because of what we see in media or with other people's comments or posts. And truly, when we love ourselves and keep that light alive, we truly are able to shine that light and love others. I think I get a lot of my humor from my parents. My mother specifically, oh my gosh, was a hoot. And we say a hoot because sometimes some of her humor was cutting, and we can laugh at the fact that, oh my God, Mom. But my father, too, he certainly liked his dry jokes and again, teasing. There's a lot of sarcasm in my family in the way that we tease. I would say shade. So we definitely can go at each other. And my parents just, they were that duo. Lots of fire and, kind of in their banter. But some of it was just hysterical. And they taught me to kind of, work at that.
And that's interesting because it's completely the opposite in my family. We didn't cut at each other, and it was more like avoid conflict and don't but and that I think that really in our relationship is a big difference between the way we are.
Well, they say opposites attract. Of course, now we're melding into one another, and the colors are being shared, and you're now painting your toes.
Wow.
Well, no, you're not painting your toes. You're having your toes
them done.
painted.
And they're gel.
Ooh,
Lasts
that's fun.
for an entire month.
Well, it's just fun to be able to sit in the chair and to do a little self-care. Well, Mr. Davis, I think we would both agree that we had a wonderful foundation of laughter, love, lessons in our past from our parents. And frankly, of course, they were only human. There were mistakes that were made. But we have learned, as we've gotten a little older, that there's responsibility on both sides of the street. And they certainly did the best they could.
Oh, yeah, they did the best they could with the tools they had at the time. And, we had 5 great parents, because I have a stepfather who's still with us, and, of course, my mother's still with us. So, and now all this talk, I'm missing them, so I think I'll give them a call. Love you, Mom. Love you, Bill.
Oh, you're such a good son. Get over on that telephone right now and make a ringy-dingy to your mama and Bill.
Please subscribe. I just love Kasha and Mr. Davis.